Toney talking sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. No, I didn't go away. Hi, guys. Been about 4 or 5 days. I know you're not used to that, but it is the dead time of the offseason. Not trying to force content. And I kind of wanted to take a couple of days off, relax, before I know we're going to have to start to pump out a lot of New York Giants content. And I can't wait to talk about it with all of you guys. Excuse the poor setup. I've got the old laptop right now because I had to send the new laptop into Apple. I'm having keyboard problems, so hopefully they fix that soon. I'll get back the new laptop. But excited to jump into some New York Giants football with you guys. Also want to let you guys know, probably bi-weekly starting next week. I'll probably do a New York Giants midday stream this week, talking about some things around the league. I'll probably start doing that bi-weekly once a week, and I'll be doing a lot of those streams as the season starts to, fast approach, and we have a lot more to talk about. Really looking forward to covering the New York Giants for another year with you guys. Always have a blast on the channel. Also, I'll start to be doing live streaming some Mets games as well. If you're into baseball, I'll start doing that tomorrow. Actually, it'll be my first Mets stream in quite some time, and I'll continue to cover the Knicks in the offseason as free agency and the draft fast approaches. But, of course, the primary thing on this channel is, and always will be, the New York Giants. And we're going to jump into some of the updates that came out today from OTA from the Giants, according to Art Stapleton. A lot of the players that did not show up in the previous OTA showed up today, so not much to be worried about. There wasn't much to be worried about that time around, but we'll talk about that. And I wanted to touch on a couple of stories that came out with the media once again, and we're used to this as Giants fans, doubting your head coach with Joe Judge, and we're hearing a lot of the same things we heard last year going into his rookie season, and they're continuing to doubt Daniel Jones, and I'll speak on my opinion on both of them when I pull up the quotes. But first, let's jump into the OTAs. Let's talk about some of the news that came out. Now, like I said, the major storyline about a week ago was that Kadarius Toney did not show up, and people were making a big deal about that. Along with that, Kenny Golladay was not in attendance either, along with a number of other players, including a lot of the members of the defensive line. But rest assured, they were all there today. Outside, I think, of the secondary, but from what I read, the secondary is going to be in attendance next time around, and it was coordinated, whatever it may be. It sounds like the New York Giants are on the same page, but this came out from Art Stapleton. First, we're going to start with the contract, and this was a formality. It's why I didn't make an individual video on it. When you draft a rookie, you're going to sign him, and we know for the most part what the contract's going to be, being that it's, obviously based on where you were drafted. And the Giants will not be paying Kadarius Toney near what they were paying Andrew Thomas, obviously due to the fact that they traded back and selected him number 20 overall. I think don't quote me on this, but I think the details of the contract, I think it's about 4 years, about $13 million thereabouts, which is, I think Thomas got like 6 or 7 in his first year, which is half of what Toney will get over the next 4 years. So that is one of the benefits to picking later in the draft, but this came out from Art Stapleton. Kadarius Toney has now officially signed his rookie contract. Details and more in today's takeaways from the final OTA before camp. And a lot of people kind of guessed as to why that may have been why he did not show up to the original voluntary OTAs, and that may have very well been the case. Doesn't want to get hurt before he puts pen to paper. But now that is done, and I think the New York Giants have actually signed every rookie that they drafted in this year's draft class. This then coming out from Danielle, I don't know her last name, but showing both Kenny Golladay and Evan Ingram catching a ball from Daniel Jones. Not used to seeing that. Hopefully Evan Ingram can hold on to the football this year, but obviously the major storyline here was Kenny Golladay was with Daniel Jones catching passes. Not going to go crazy about this. Of course, Kenny Golladay was working out with Daniel Jones about a month ago when Daniel Jones organized the meetup. They don't even have the pads on yet, but it's nice to see that they're starting to build some kind of rapport together. So good to see Kenny Golladay showing up for the New York Giants today. There was also some highlights if you want to check them out. I think they're on Twitter. And I'm excited to see Golladay in a New York Giants uniform. Then, this coming out also from Art Stapleton regarding the offensive line. And to me, that was kind of the biggest takeaway last time, was how they orchestrated who was playing where on the offensive line, who was starting, because we have a lot of questions as to who's going to be the starting tackles, who's going to be the starting guards going into training camp, or at least who is favored, and how are they and where in the formation are they going to be? Well, it was the same formation this time around, and it looks like these are the favorites to be the starting offensive line for the New York Giants going into the 2021 season. Of course, that's before we may or may not sign a free agent. That remains to be seen, but this is the alignment. Andrew Thomas on the left side, Shane Lemieux the left guard, Nick Gates at center, Will Hernandez at the right guard, and Matt Parrott at the right tackle. And Stapleton went on to say the entire Giants offensive line was present, including the backups, for the second and last OTA open to the media. Same configuration as last week. So I think they're starting to show you signs. They got Hernandez working with Parrott. That seems to be the way it's going to be. So they're going to ask Hernandez to move over to the right side. They're going to keep Lemieux on the left. And like I said, the reasoning behind that, maybe they have more faith in Lemieux, or maybe they want to put the more experienced guard with the less experienced tackle, and vice versa on the other side. Or maybe they just feel like they work better in that alignment. But it'll be a challenge for Hernandez to play in a spot where he has never played with the New York Giants. Of course, he's been at that left guard spot throughout the entirety of his career. Then he went on to talk about the second-team offensive line, Slade, Wiggins, Harrison, Fulton, and Solder. Experienced depth across the front of a big change for the New York Giants offensive line this early. And they definitely do have some experience. Harrison's been in the league for a while. Of course, Fulton and Nate Solder, who sat out last year due to COVID, definitely will provide some good veteran leadership at a bare minimum for the New York Giants. Then Art went on to talk about the good influx of the defensive players that showed up. Of course, there was a laundry list of players that did not show up last time. Good influx of defensive players at today's New York Giants OTAs. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, B.J. Hill, Reggie Ragland joined Blake Martinez, Tate Crowder, Lorenzo Carter, Azeez Ojulari, Ellerson Smith, and Ifeadi Adenabo, among others. Expect secondary here next week for minicamp. And minicamp will be starting in a week, and that's where things will at least start to spice up a little bit before we really start to jump into things, I think, in mid to late July for training camp for the New York Giants. Now, I wanted to touch on some of the things that came out about both your head coach and your quarterback in Daniel Jones with members of the media talking about both of these players. Well, Daniel Jones was called a coach killer. I think it was one of the writers from CBS Sports had to say this about your quarterback. Oh my, does he tend to turn the ball over? Oh my, do the Giants require massive gains from him? Oh geez, how they spend on new parts for him on an offense. Oh no, I don't think it will change much at all. And if this goes as poorly as expected, then heads will roll because of it, especially as other NFL teams continue to add young, cheap quarterbacks in the interim who far outproduce this one. I think that was Jason La Canfora, if I'm not mistaken, of CBS Sports, talking about your quarterback and his doubts. And listen, we're all Giants fans. We all want the best for this team. We all want Daniel Jones to be the guy. And in my heart, I feel like he's going to be. But is it fair to at least be questionable whether or not he can be the quarterback? Absolutely. Up to this point, Daniel Jones, I think, has only won, 7 games as a starter somewhere in that area. Hasn't beaten a team over 500. So I get some of the, at least, people that question whether or not he could be the quarterback. But I think this, again, much like I've said in prior videos, is going to give more fuel to the fire for Daniel Jones. And I welcome it. I welcome people doubting him. And the fact that he thinks that the additions of Golladay, which is kind of what he's hinting at here, all the offensive additions, Saquon Barkley, so on and so forth, are not going to help Daniel Jones and make him a better quarterback. Well, it remains to be seen, but I definitely disagree with him in that area. I think the familiarity with the Jason Garrett scheme in year 2, having all these weapons, will prove to be a much better product on the field at the quarterback position this year for the New York Giants. Now, to his tune about a coach killer, I disagree with that. Like, even if Daniel Jones, and I know that Joe Judge has gotten on board and he supported Daniel Jones and he took this job knowing full well Daniel Jones was going to be his quarterback. Do I think that Joe Judge would lose his job under almost any circumstance this year? No. Do I think that Daniel Jones could? Yeah. And if Daniel Jones fails, I think Dave Gettleman would be out. I don't think I would necessarily say the same for Joe Judge, but of course the expectations are much higher this year. And if the Giants won 3 games, I suppose anything's possible. But I don't think any coach is going to be getting killed this year for the New York Giants. Then I want to talk about some of the things that came out regarding Joe Judge. This coming from Patrick Doherty of NBC Sports. He recently ranked, by the way, all these quotes are from Giants Wire. He recently ranked 25 NFL head coaches, excluding the first-year coaches, and had Judge just shy of dead last. He also referred to the Bill Belichick disciple as a parody. So he only ranked 25 head coaches, I guess, because there's a lot of first-year head coaches. But of the 25 that he ranked Joe Judge 24. And before I give my full opinion on that, let's read some of the things that he had to say. It was a huge paragraph. I pulled off some of it. Joe Judge began his Giants career with bits. No name on the jersey, etc. It made him an easy punchline for a slumping organization. Things started off equally poorly during the regular season, where Judge's squad produced 0-5 and 1-7 records. The second half was much better with the G-Men, closing 5-3 and coming within a Nate Sudfeld cameo of winning their pathetic division with offense exploding league-wide. The Giants were a rare bulwark for the other side of the ball, surrendering 94 fewer points than the year prior. That was the 9th best mark in football after 3 seasons of finishing 23rd or worse. The problem was Judge's offense, which showed zero second-year improvement under erratic starter Daniel Jones. The front office is throwing weapons at the issue, but it will fall to Judge to make lemonade out of Jones's lemons. Judge can sometimes feel like a football guy parody. He took the Sudfeld thing just a little too personally, though. He has successfully towed the line of instilling a hard-nosed attitude while keeping his players' respect. There's a chance 2020 was Judge's ceiling. So I'm not surprised here that people continue to doubt Joe Judge. He's from, the New York Giants, the media. After all, we only won 6 games last year. But to put the blame on the offense on Joe Judge is a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. Last year, what did we have after Saquon Barkley went down with the injury? We all know we didn't have any great wide receivers. We all know that the offensive line was a mess to start the year. We had rookies all over the line, and I think Joe Judge handled it very well. He came out every week and said, listen, this is a work in progress. He basically said, we know we're not making the playoffs this year. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he's saying we're starting to build something. But the whole, the names on the jersey, people continue to bash him for that. And the best thing about Joe Judge is he doesn't care. And to say that he's a parody, to me, is a joke. I think Joe Judge has done wonders with the culture of this New York Giants football team. And to put him the second to last coach in the NFL, based off a year that probably him and several other members of the media thought the Giants were going to win 2 or 3 games, is a joke. With all the things that he had to overcome last year in a first year with the pandemic, with his best offensive player going down in Saquon Barkley, to get this team to win 6 games and nearly win 8 or 9 if a couple of calls go their way, I think Joe Judge had a very strong rookie season. Now, am I going to say that he's going to be the greatest coach of all time? No. He's still got a lot to prove, but I'm definitely going to support him every step of the way. But you're going to see more and more of this. Even if the New York Giants start winning football games, people will continue to doubt Joe Judge. But I think Judge is built for New York. I think he's meant for New York, and I think he's battle-tested. I think he's going to do a great job this year with the New York Giants, and we'll see how it, translates in terms of the wins and losses. Am I completely convinced he's going to be a great coach? No, but I think he had a very strong year one, all things included, and I think he came out with a clear game plan in last year's offseason, and I thought that they did a good job. And this year, same thing could be said. I think Joe Judge is very, very detail-oriented. He knows what he wants, and he's got this team headed down the right direction. As far as Jones goes, it's your year, my man, to start to prove the doubters wrong. I'm not going to lie. I'm not completely convinced that he's going to be a franchise quarterback, but I do believe Daniel Jones this year will take a big step up for the New York Giants, and I think he will start to beat some good football teams. I can't wait to see the New York Giants prove a lot of people wrong in 2021. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.